Thanks for hanging with me. I'm Mr. Herman. Today we're exploring a dark but essential chapter in world history, the Armenian Genocide. This lesson is a part of our look at genocides of the 20th century and how they differ from other mass atrocities. This is a single video lesson, so watch closely, complete your guided notes, and finish the mastery check when you're done. Let's get to it and make today count. By the end of this video, you'll be able to explain what the Armenian Genocide was, identify its causes and consequences, and understand how it fits the definition of genocide. We'll also look at why it still matters and why some governments refuse to recognize it even today. Before we get into what happened to the Armenians, we need to understand the term genocide. It was coined by a man named Raphael Lemkin in 1944 after the Holocaust. He described genocide as the intentional destruction of a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. It's not just about a lot of people dying. It's about why and how they're targeted. Intent is what separates genocide from the other tragedies. Armenians were Christian minority living within the Muslim majority Ottoman Empire. They had lived there for centuries, but faced discrimination, unfair taxes, and periods of violence. By the early 1900s, the Ottoman Empire was falling apart, and the nationalist tensions were rising. The government began to see Armenians as outsiders, people who couldn't be trusted. On April 24, 1915, the Ottoman government arrested and executed hundreds of Armenian leaders in what is now considered the start of the genocide. This was followed by mass deportations. Families were forced to march across the desert with little food or water. Over the next few years, between 1 and 1.5 million Armenians died. Many were killed outright. Others died from starvation, disease, or exhaustion. It was a systematic effort to wipe out an entire people. So why did this happen? One major reason was fear. The Ottomans were at war and thought the Armenians might support Russia, one of their enemies. There was also a belief that the empire needed to be Turkified, made more uniform in language, religion, and ethnicity. And during wartime chaos, it was easier to carry out mass violence without much international interference. The consequences were devastating. Entire communities were erased. Survivors scattered across the globe, forming what we now call the Armenian diaspora. To this day, the Turkish government denies it was genocide, calling it a tragedy of war, not a coordinated effort. But many historians believe this event helped to set the stage for later genocides, including the Holocaust. The world's response at the time was limited. Some countries condemned the violence, but most didn't act. Today, more than 30 countries officially recognize the Armenian Genocide, including the United States. However, this recognition is still politically sensitive, especially when it comes to relations with Turkey. The debate continues over 100 years later. It's important to understand that genocide is not the same as other mass killings. For something to be genocide, there has to be an intent to destroy a group based on who they are, not just because they were in the way. That's what makes the Armenian genocide so significant. It was targeted, organized, and carried out with the goal of eliminating Armenians as a people. The Armenian genocide was one of the first modern genocides, and sadly, it wasn't the last. Understanding what happened helps us recognize the warning signs and challenge denial where it exists. It's not just history, it's a call to remember, to question, and to speak up when we see injustice. Until then, stay curious, stay focused, and as always, make today count.